Okay, hey everybody, it's me again, Coach Christal, and we are here with one of our amazing clients, Shirley Collado. Once in a while, I ask clients to jump on and just have a conversation with me about how their experience was in the Steps and Stages community, or is in the community and was during the process of their vision work. So, Shirley, welcome. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your vision.
Thank you, Crystal. It's an honor to be here, and I'm happy to pay it forward. Looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are often thinking about coaching and they want to put it in a specific vein of their life, right? There's executive coaching, there's financial coaching. And when we talk about vision coaching, I think people have a hard time thinking about how the holistic view of a vision can affect their day to day lives. Can you talk a little bit about what your process was like in understanding how the four quadrants of your life went together, or even how to start visioning for a holistic life?
Sure, sure. That's such a rich question. I should say, for listeners, I'm a clinical psychologist by training. Have been in education, higher education administration for a long time,
Mhm.
and so and have a full and busy life. And so when I first approached this, I was thinking I'm at a major crossroads in my life. I'm thinking a lot about the need for integration. That I'm very good at compartmentalizing. I'm very good at high achieving in certain categories, but the pieces just weren't fitting together.
Mhm.
And during the pandemic, that became really obvious, more obvious in ways that I hadn't anticipated. So I was really excited when you and I talked about visioning and dream building. And it became very clear to me that in my biggest dream and vision, I wanted to integrate this life's work.
Right.
My job was not just a job, it was life's work. And there were all these other components: my life, my marriage, my friends, my health, my body, my spirit.
Mhm.
So frankly, and I'm a big proponent of therapy and reflection and self-awareness and health and wellness. But this allowed me to really have language and have permission to bring all these pieces together.
Mhm. 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 Yeah. Permission is a big word, I think, in this process, and a lot of it surely comes between the the duality of permission and trust, right? And when we think about trust for ourselves, we know that it builds our confidence because we're actually keeping our commitments with ourselves rather than building our integrity with other people. Can you talk a little bit about how this process for you helped you tune into trusting yourself or your intuition?
I think a lot of it is, look, you're an incredible coach, and a courageous person. And, I believe in living life authentically. I don't really, although I've negotiated my identity in a variety of spaces, I feel like how I show up is pretty consistent.
Yeah.
And so I think that a big part of my discovery was you reflecting back from me some of the things that were very present in our conversations, and then honestly some things that I wasn't aware of,
Mhm.
and bringing the material that I was reading, that I was listening to, that we were talking about. And so our time together gave me a mirror in a different way.
Yeah.
And I felt like I had a space that felt very solid, that was a brave space for me to name things that I don't always feel like I get to name in all parts of my life.
Right. Mhm. Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that was a big part of it, I think. And imagining other possibilities, that I haven't really given myself permission to do, even, in a very accomplished career and life and a very loving family and marriage. I felt like I was able to see different vantage points.
Yeah. Yeah. Before, when you thought about possibility, many people like to think of their strategy as possibility or their plan as a vision. Can you help some people out there, just in your own words, dismantle the two just because of, you had already wanted life? It wasn't about that, right? So, kind of dismantling the two.
Yeah, I'm a good planner. I am a good executor of things. I'm ambitious. I have a big appetite for life. And, everything that I do, I like to do intensely.
Yeah.
And so, I've had lots of lists in my life, and some of them were put upon me with enormous responsibilities at a very young age.
Mhm.
Uh, being the youngest person in the room largely throughout my career, enormous responsibilities that were very consistent with being a parentified kid. So I
Yeah.
was good at lists. I was good at big responsibilities on these shoulders. And I think when you're able to do that and be productive, or you know how to lead a team, or you know how to mobilize change, you can have people follow you, right?
Mhm.
Those things feel very busy and like you're accomplishing things.
Yeah.
And I guess the difference is when I really started paying attention to visioning, dream building, realizing what was inside me, it was like, it's hard to describe, but it's almost like I started developing the ability to see what was between those lines on my list,
Mm, mm,
that were behind the scenes, that were deep in there,
mm,
and I just wasn't putting Shirley first.
mhm.
For me, it was like this big vision of educational justice, being a servant leader, being super responsible, being the daughter of immigrants that get the job done and see things through, these things that I was carrying. And there were other wishes there in my vision that I just didn't see, or
Yeah.
didn't give myself permission to see, or people were counting on me for all this other stuff
Mhm, mhm.
that I actually didn't get to see the stuff for me.
Yeah.
And I think that was when I started kind of putting it all together. Because people describe me as, she's visionary. I can like say, big picture. Let's go there. We're going there.
Yeah.
But when it came to looking in the mirror, I was like, where do you really, and like you said, I've done a lot of the things that I thought I would do, and a lot of things that I never imagined doing that have been
Yeah.
amazing.
Right.
Yet there was something at that crossroads when I started doing work with you
Mm,
that I knew was there that I didn't have access to. There was something inside of me that just wasn't coming to life,
mhm, mhm.
even though I loved the work that I've done, right?
Yeah.
It just wasn't enough anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, thank you. I mean, I think it's true that many of us get to a place where we do all the right things, we build the life that we imagined, but then we don't let our imagination go any further. Right? And so here we're really big on, you can be grateful and still want more. And the want is not about greed. The want is about how much more of me can I figure out or find out or have access to, right? And so, Shirley, I mean, it's one of those big questions that we always think about, but what was the hardest part of the process for you and what's next?
mm, I think the hardest part of the process was realizing that even though my life was full, I never really made most of my decisions for Shirley.
Ah, mhm,
It was for serving, it was for justice, it was for family, it was for being a role model to people who are not seen,
mhm,
and often heard in the spaces that I've occupied.
yeah.
It was what people believed in and wanted in me. And the hardest part was actually realizing, it was so simple, but and my husband, the love of my life, reflected that to me. When I would talk with him about the work that I was doing with you, and he was over the moon that I was giving myself this space, that it was somehow like this big luxury to me.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Yet it shouldn't have been, right?
Right.
But it was this moment where, and he reflected. I remember the moment where you and I talked about this, when he said, "It's okay to make a decision for Shirley. It's okay to want more for Shirley."
Hmm.
And, when I think about that as a woman of color, as a first generation college student,
Yeah.
as, the daughter of people who were not born in this country,
Right.
and many of the things that I've represented in my doing,
Hmm. Hmm.
um, there was a part of me that was quite sad when I came to the realization that, here I am almost 50, and I
Hmm.
now am 50, right? Here I am at this point in my life, and most decisions haven't really been about me. And I'm proud that I have, given so much of myself in the work.
Yeah.
But I got to the point where it was at a cost.
Right. Right.
So to my body, to my, what I wanted to get up for and do every day,
Hmm.
and that it wasn't selfish, it wasn't excessive, it wasn't too big to
Yeah.
dream about things that I needed for me.
Yeah.
So, and look, what's next, I guess, to get to that point is, I say all of this, but I haven't completely arrived, that this is a process.
Yeah. Of course.
To
Yes.
share a little bit with the viewers, when I did work with you, Crystal, I was at a major crossroads in my career and life.
Hmm.
And I had already done phenomenal things,
Yeah.
but again, it was time to look at very deeply inside me what I
Hmm.
wanted. And the decisions moved me across the country. It enhanced my partnership with my husband, who I met later in life,
Yeah.
to take big steps for us to be in the same place,
Hmm.
to think about my body and my health in a different way, and
Yeah.
to be a little more vulnerable and gentle with myself, forgiving when I
Yeah.
wasn't doing everything intensely and perfectly. So, what's next for me is, I kind of living in that.
Yeah.
And I am thinking about, what other work could I do that
Hmm.
would help build on the work that we did.
Yeah.
And I'm living out and testing out a lot of the dreaming that you and I did, that when I was envisioning what I really want, what I
Yeah.
am doing right now is checking a lot of those boxes.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
so now that I'm there, it's like, okay, so here I am, like fully present in it. What do you do when you're
Living
realizing
the
the
dream.
dream?
What do you do
Yeah.
when you live the dream? Right. Right. Right.
So now it's like being comfortable with, okay, now I'm here, and it's not about being perfect or being better. It's about being fully present. And
Hmm.
like many people during the pandemic, me and my family, we endured loss. There were a lot of hard moments in the last couple of years, and so I don't want to take any of it for granted.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that's the time I don't want to take now for
Right.
granted.
Right. Right.
And I'm trying to think about that. I would like to also do that in the company of more women,
Hmm.
who are asking really big questions about themselves,
Yeah.
and creating spaces that allow them to really be who they are in the world.
Hmm.
So that's been an exciting part of
Yeah.
what's next.
Yeah. It's awesome. So, it's interesting because, of course, I know I was there with you on this journey, but it is just always so magical for me to see clients like step into the thing that they were not quite sure of in the beginning, didn't know if it was really going to come true, and now it's their real life, right? And now sinking into the ritual of that day-to-day life and being present just allows you to understand all the tools you've built to now when this gets to be a little too normal, we can do it again, right? That's the beauty of vision building, is that you went through vision builder, life mastery, like all of the ways that we create and practice. So Shirley, just before we let you go, what would you say to someone who is thinking about coaching, thinking about finding an integration tool for their lives?
Wow. Well, I would say be really open-minded about the package,
Mm,
that it comes in, because I think this process with you, Coach Crystal, is truly about integration and giving voice to all facets of who we are.
yeah.
I love that I could have a space with you and we can talk about the spirit and the mind and the body,
Yeah.
and reflect on the past,
Mhm.
really think about just things that I think sometimes when people think about an executive coach or a life coach or
Yeah.
a mental health expert, a therapist, that needs to be compartmentalized. And I think the difference is that when you're really envisioning, when you're really dreaming,
Hmm.
you have permission to have all these facets of who you are be present,
Yeah.
in a way that I think is really powerful.
Yeah.
So I would say be open minded, be willing. I think Crystal, you ask really powerful questions that sometimes can take someone by surprise, and not
Hmm.
not intimidating, just kind of opening up a facet of being, that
Yeah.
maybe someone didn't think about. And this is an intimate relationship.
Yeah.
And I guess I would underscore for me, and everyone should know, I wouldn't normally agree to be videotaped and have a conversation like this. My privacy is very sacred.
Yes.
And I lived a very public life and continue to do so. But I feel like this is a space also where, if you show up, you can count on confidentiality, you can count on trust. I think of brave spaces, not safe spaces, where
Mhm,
you could
mhm.
really step in.
Yep.
And I'm at the point where, I think it would be great to be in a group with a group of people, or even consider a retreat with a group of people,
Mhm.
because I trust you to curate a group of folks who are very serious about this work, with no judgment, no shame,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
no compartmentalized expectations. It's like,
Right.
really just be able to speak your truth, and be in the world regardless of your history, your story, what you think is possible or not possible, whatever your circumstance. I would encourage, a lot of openness and a lot of trust building.
Yeah.
The outcome is, you end up being more courageous and trusting in yourself, not
Yes.
just the coach,
Right. Right.
or who's participating in this, which I think is really, really wonderful. And Crystal, I think the other thing to mention too is, and I don't know if this is your intention, but this is not like a one-way relationship. It's very reciprocal. It's
Yeah.
it's a partnership.
Mhm.
And so I would urge anyone coming into this, to know that, what you put in and get out of the partnership can be really, could really be more than you ever imagined.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Shirley, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for allowing us a little glimpse into your vision. It's been an honor to work with you. It continues to be. If you are thinking about finding someone or a community to grow in, then you should jump over to stepwithcrystal.com, schedule your free complimentary vision call. I would love to talk to you about bringing your highest vision into your immediate reality. So if you want to do that, jump over, and we promise you that in this community, you will gain confidence and clarity that will exceed your wildest dreams. We'll talk to you soon. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk later.